So you bought a house, but you didn't put 20% down. So most likely you have something that's called PMI, private mortgage insurance, something that adds to that monthly payment. So how do you get rid of PMI? When can you kick it to the curb and lower your monthly payment? All right, so in this video, we're gonna talk about private mortgage insurance and more specifically, how to get rid of your private mortgage insurance. So you bought a house and you didn't put 20% down. Or maybe you refinanced and because of the scenario with your equity, you had to have PMI on your loan. Either way, it's a monthly expense that in a perfect world, you'd get rid of and reduce your monthly obligations, right? So how do you do that? Well, there's a few ways to get the job done. Option number one is the least attractive option, and that's to ride it out basically. And at a certain point, your loan amortization, basically after you've made X amount of payments, the PMI is gonna automatically fall off. But newsflash, that's gonna take several years, which who wants to wait that long? Especially if you're in an area where your home has appreciated enough to where maybe you don't need to have PMI. Or maybe the risk of your PMI is much lower now, which would make your PMI much less. Because again, it's all about that monthly payment, right? Maybe when you initially bought the house, your equity was 3% and now it's 10%. Well, it's a lot cheaper to have 10% PMI than 3% PMI. Now, if you're in a situation where you think that you don't need PMI, meaning that you've got 20% or more in home equity, what you can do is contact your loan servicing company and challenge the PMI basically. And what you're gonna have to do is there's a process to follow, some paperwork, and you are gonna have to cough up the money for an appraisal, not the lender. You're gonna pay for the appraisal, just like you probably did when you bought the house. And if the value in that appraisal comes in to where you've got more than 20% equity, then the bank's gonna have to get rid of your PMI. But there is a minimum time period. You can't just buy a house and then the next month get rid of the PMI. Typically, you're gonna have that for at least 18 months, so you gotta factor that in. The next way to get rid of your PMI, and this is probably the quickest way to get it done, and depending on where interest rates are at, maybe even a better and more efficient way to get it done, which is by refinancing. So if you're in a position where you have an interest rate that is higher than what you could get in the current market, and when you bought your house, you also had PMI, it is very likely that you could save quite a bit of money on a monthly basis by either reducing or eliminating your PMI and also shaving off some of that interest rate, ultimately bringing your total monthly payment down. So what if you pay down your principal balance so that you have enough equity to get rid of the PMI? Can you then challenge the PMI with your lender? Well, yes, you can. Just keep in mind that there's a minimum amount of time that you're going to be required to have PMI on that loan. A lot of times what people want to do is they're selling their previous property, but they're buying this new house first. After their previous property sells and they've got this huge lump sum of money, they want to put it down on the property that they've already acquired. And what they'll find is that they can't get rid of the PMI immediately. It doesn't work that way. At the end of the day, if you got questions about PMI, ultimately what I would recommend that you do is talk to a mortgage professional, reach out to us. All we need to do is take a look at your monthly mortgage statement and we can figure out what your options are and let you know what the next best steps would be, which maybe it's contacting the servicer to challenge the PMI and have them remove it. Or maybe you can refinance, lower your rate, and get rid of the PMI. But the only way to find out is to click the link below, send us that mortgage statement, and we can do a review of your scenario. If you got value out of this video, do me a huge favor. Tap that like button, make sure to subscribe, leave your comments below, and I'll see you on the next video.